to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to create a simple web view as well as use a little more advanced web browser object in our iOS app using Swift. So let's get started by firing up Xcode. We're going to create a simple single view application. Let's call it web browser. Let's just call it Safari actually. Let's pretend like we work at Apple right now. So once we have our Xcode up and ready, let's close this side panel and let's drag this to the side to give us some more room to work. Let's drag this one to the side as well. Let's hit Command R, which will open our simulator and run it. And once this boots up, we will dive right into using web views. So we're going to be talking about two objects today. One object is the WebKit WebView, abbreviated as WKWebView, and the SF Safari View Controller. We're going to start with the Safari View Controller. The SF Safari View Controller is a component that Apple provides where you can simply provide a URL and open up a pretty nifty web browser right in your app so the person doesn't have to leave and go to a web browser and come back. We're going to do this by going to our view controller. We're going to import a framework called Safari Services. We are going to create a IP action that will attach to a button, which will open our website. So let's create an IP action. Let's call it button tapped. And let's give ourselves some room in here. We're going to create a new view controller, which is an SF Safari view controller. And you can create it with a URL, which you can create with a string. We need to force unwrap it because we need to make sure that we're providing a URL. And we can say present VC animated true. And let's provide an actual website address in here. Let's do apple.com. Let's head to our storyboard and add a button and connect it to our action. Let's go ahead and actually change the background color of this first and foremost. We're going to add a white button, so let's make it a little easier to see. So we'll drag on a button. We can leave it right there. And let's connect our action by right-clicking this and dragging the action from this to our button and selecting touch up inside. And let's run our app. So this is a really great way to drop in a WebView component. For example, a lot of apps have terms of service or a contact form, and we can link it in very nicely and simply with this. So if we go ahead and tap this, you'll notice that it opens up a really nice looking browser. Looks very similar to Safari, which is why it's called SF Safari View Controller. Now we can actually swipe directly back and you'll see if it decides to swipe back, which it's not in the simulator, but if we tap this, it will go back directly to our app. If you run it on device, it's a little easier to swipe back, but it's not swiping at the moment. But we can see that we can go to this entire web view experience within the app context. And we have a nice loading bar at the top. We have a link of where we're at. We have some controls at the bottom. You can reload the page, so on and so forth. So this is Safari View Controller. Now the next thing we're going to explore is WebKit View. So let's go ahead and get rid of this button. Let's also go back to our view controller and get rid of this action, keeping this curly brace. And let's go ahead and really remove this Safari Services framework, and instead let's replace it with WebKit. WebKit is a framework that Apple provides that has, as the name implies, a lot of web-related functionality. It also includes a component called WKWebView, with the WK standing for WebKit. WebKit is the engine and technology that Safari and a lot of Apple's web core frameworks are built on top of. So we're going to create WebKit in the storyboard, but we can also create it here in code. So let's actually go back to our storyboard and let's go and search for a WKWebView, and we get one right there. Let's drag this onto our view controller and apply some constraints to it. We're going to provide 0 for each side to pin this to the entire screen. Let's go back to our view controller and create an IB outlet so we can interact with this WKWebView. Let's go back to our storyboard and let's connect that outlet. Let's go back to our code one last time. So if we run this app right now, we'll see that we don't get anything specific, and we forgot to put our var here, so it didn't actually compile. But if we run this app right now, we'll see that we won't actually get a specific website. Rather, we'll either just get a gray or a white background like we do right here. And the reason is because we haven't configured this web view at all. So what we need to do, and we'll do it in view.load, is we need to supply a request that this web view needs to make. So we can say WebView.loadRequest, and we want to supply a URL request, and we can create it with a URL, similar to how we did the Safari view controller. And the URL request takes a URL, which we can create with a string like so. We add a exclamation mark to force unwrap it. We're gonna supply in, let's supply in google.com. And let's run this app one more time. And we'll see that we can run google.com and see in a browser. So notice this WebKit view doesn't have a nice loading bar at the top, and it doesn't have the controls at the bottom. So this is a much more bare bones UI element that you can put into your app, and you can configure it and do a lot more cool things with it. In other words, if you want more flexibility, you should definitely be using the WKWebView. If you want a drop-in, plug-and-play type browser, you should be using the Safari view controller. With that being said, that's the wrap on this video. If you guys liked it, leave a like below. It helps out the video and channel a lot. Subscribe if you're new for iOS, Swift, and other entrepreneurship technology videos. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.